Okay, so I think that is it. If I click on the table of contents here, we finished all 16 sections relating to strings. So let's backtrack. I'm going to click the link at the very top. And I want to know exactly what I've accomplished. Okay, so last week we did Python syntax, and earlier this morning we looked at strings and the output on the console window or the results window. It looks like we have one more section in chapter 2. Okay, and it's a very short section. I think we can get it done before lunch. So we'll have a time or due date by 1:30. So I'm going to put a link in the learning path. So when you return after lunch, let me show you the learning path. And go to weekend 2. All right, so after your 1 p.m. attendance in the afternoon, you will have an assignment link, and all you'll do there is you will hit print screen and you will upload the completed assignment for chapter 2. You don't need to send me chapter 1. If you didn't finish it last week, you can send me both if you like, but I just need to see chapter 2 expanded with check marks on both of these. The next two items you see here, those are for the premium version or the paid version. So those do not need to be completed, and the balance of the afternoon today, I will be answering questions, and we will also be attempting some challenge projects. So let's go into date and time, see how that works in Python, and it's very similar in other programming languages. Okay, so the datetime library. Now we have libraries, something called libraries in when we're programming in any language. And what is a library? Well, we know what libraries are. You go in, you get a book, and you have information there. It turns out the code editor doesn't have all the commands, doesn't have everything you want to execute right there. You have to visit or extract a library to get more functions. So there are many math and engineering libraries. You can create your own libraries. Maybe if we have time in this course, we'll be looking at some of these advanced sections. And libraries are important to work with. We measure the skill of a coder, of any programmer, in part by how well he knows the libraries and how quickly he can locate the code he wants to do. So I'll give you a very simple example. There's a math function called sine, and you can define it within the code editor here. You can create 2 or 3 lines to define the sine function, or you can import the math library and the sine function is already there. So it's your choice. You can try creating things yourself, or if it's already created, why not use it? And that's really a large part of the skill of a programmer, learning how to use and reuse things that already exist. So we have a whole bunch of time date functions that already exist, and we're going to pull them into our editor. And I think the only thing we need to do here is click run, and nothing special was outputted on the console, but now we have access to all those datetime functions. So let's go ahead and see what's inside the datetime function. So I'm going to click next here. So we're going to import in the datetime function, and we're going to, from it, we're going to use now. So I'm going to copy this into my notepad to see exactly what we're doing. Okay, so we import the datetime library, and from the library we're going to use the now function. So if you want a way of thinking about this, The date time part here, that's the library that you have down the street. So you walk down the street from your home, there is the library. The now function is a book that you're going to be using from that library. So that's how I like to think about it, library and book. All right, so let's go ahead and attempt this assignment right now. So we want to create a variable called now. And from now, we want to store the value of now. We're going to be using the now function for that. And then we're going to print it out, not using the now function, but by using a variable. So let's come back here. So instead of printing it out directly, we're going to store that value in a variable called now. And that's a data type. Remember, variables can be numbers, they can be strings, they can also be dates. And if you remember from the first weekend, they can also be true and false Boolean values. But in this case, our now variable is a date. So after we get that, we can happily print it out. So we are just going to print out the variable. So I think I did that correctly. We import the date time library, and from that library, we're going to use the now function to figure out the current time and day, store it in the now variable, and then print it out. So let's see if this works. We'll do a copy. We'll come back to our code editor. Okay. And let's click run, and there it is. Now look at the format. It gives you the date, or the year, month, and day, and it gives you a timestamp. So this is probably in Europe or somewhere else, because you can see we have a timestamp of 2 o'clock, 2:51 and 33 seconds. So let's see if we can work with this a little bit more. Now this is interesting. So let me grab all of that code, and we'll look at that one a little bit more closely. Okay, so you import your library, you set a variable now. Now the data type on it, the type of data, it's not a number, it's not Boolean, it's not string, it's a date. Now we're doing something really interesting here. From that variable, we have a dot year after it, and a dot month, and a dot day, okay? And it does the obvious thing. So we're going to take that variable and define new variables from it. So from now, we're going to extract the year, and then we're going to extract the month, and then extract the date, and assign them to the respective variable. So I want you to think about it like this. Now, we said what the data type is. It's a date, but kind of think of it as having properties, different properties, like a box could have a height, a length, a width. It could have a weight. How many kilograms is it? Well, this now also has different properties. It has a year, it has a month, it has a date. Okay, so what do we do in this exercise? Now we want to print the year, and make sure you do it after setting the now variable. So here's the now variable, okay, and we are going to print the month. So let's do dot month, and we'll do it again for the day. So print out now dot day, and I think I did that correctly. So we're extracting what it is now, and we're printing out the month and day. So let's try this out. So we are the 5th month, May, and today is May 2nd. Okay, so I think that worked. Did you remember to do the year? No, I didn't. So let's do a year as well. So print now dot year, and that way we've extracted all 3 parts of the date. So 2020, 5 is the month, May, 2 is the day of the month. Let's click next, And this is interesting. So let's copy and paste all of this. This is playing around with the formatting, making it prettier, making it look the way we want it to look. So we import the library, we set the now variable to what it is currently now, the day and time. And then we're going to print it out, but we're going to print it out using the formatting we used in an earlier section. Now remember, these D's here are placeholders. I'm going to build this up piece by piece. Now, what are we going to do? We're going to print a day in the following format. Okay, if I can find that format, there it is. So let me copy and paste it. Okay, we want 2 digits for the month, 2 digits for the day, and then 4 digits for the year, and we want these forward slashes in between. So let's start building it up with placeholders. So remember, a placeholder was a % symbol and then a letter. So in this case, the letter is D. And then after the day, okay, the /D is for is the first placeholder. We have a forward slash. Let's put our forward slash in there. And then we need another placeholder. Okay, that's going to be for the month. And then finally, we're going to have a final placeholder for the year. And this takes getting used to. This isn't easy. I admit this is a little bit difficult. Okay, now let's specify what's going to go into each of those placeholders. So I'm going to do a % right here, and this is what's going to what we're going to substitute in there. So in the first placeholder, we want now dot month. In the second placeholder, we want now dot day, and in the last one, we want now dot year. Okay, so the month goes in here, the day goes in the middle one, and the year goes in the last one, and in between we just have a forward slash, plain dumb text just like we do here. Now, if you look carefully, okay, what if it's, right now it's May. If we were to print this out, we're just going to get the number 5 for May, and that's not what we want. We want 2 digits. Okay, so we have to tell Python that it's 2 digits. So if the month is May, we need to make it 2 digits. That's 1 digit. And how do we do that? By putting in some padding. And what do we mean by padding? If you have a box and you're putting something in the box, but the object is too small, what do? You crumple some newspapers, you use some padding. So 05, so it's going to be 2 digits, and I'm going to put a 0 in there, some padding, to force it to 2 digits. Same thing with the day, so I'm going to put 02. Now, if you look at the year, it's 4 digits, so we're going to put a 4 in there, and I think the book is using a 0 for the padding. I'm not a big fan of doing that, so if the year is 2020, and it pads it, it's going to look like that. So I think that kind of probably is not the best choice, but that's what the book is doing. We're not quite finished yet, okay? So now we're going to put all of that in quotation marks like this. Okay, we're going to close it up, take out the extra spaces. Okay, don't forget to leave the necessary spaces, and then we're going to print all of that out. So let's try that now. Okay, so we're going to write it out in this format, and I think I'm going to have to continue on the next video. So there's going to be a part 2 to this video, and we will finish this exercise. See you soon.